Let's get more on this now from Yuval Weber, expert in Russian politics from Texas A&M's Bush School in Washington, D.C. and the Marie Curie University's Krulak Center. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Navalny must have known this was going to happen when he went back to Russia. What do you think happens next?
Oh, so he knew from the get-go because when he was recovering from the poisoning attempt in Germany, the case against him went from suspended to an active appeal. So everything that has happened today was clear from the get-go, and it was meant to dissuade him from returning to Russia. They basically wanted him to stay in exile, but he chose, instead of being like Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the leader of Belarus, who basically is just trying to get meetings around Europe and the West, he wanted to go back and really take the fight back to Putin. So what's going to happen now is, obviously, as your reporter had suggested, there have been a lot of protests in Russia over the last week or so. And in fact, more than 10,000 people have been arrested in about the past week or plus. And so what they hope is that this dies down with him in jail. But what we've seen is that his message, and sort of Navalny's core message, is that he's anti-corruption, and that corruption is what he equates with Putin and Putin's system. So as long as the economy is bad, people are upset about life in general, that keeps basically him alive as an issue. And the real other thing that the Russian government has tried to do is they've tried to ignore him for years. They've tried to basically keep him quiet, but they've turned the full power of Russian state media against him. So all day, every day on the Russian state media channels, there's now basically all the negative things about him. So he's now going to be blamed for everything in Russia that goes wrong. The idea there is to dissuade people from supporting him because it's clear, you go out in the streets, you're going to get beaten up or arrested. If you support him in a professional setting, you're going to face professional consequences. But what that also does is put him, instead of trying to get meetings abroad, he's been trying to frame himself as this more Nelson Mandela or Václav Havel type. And having him as the real counterpoint to Putin will basically keep him in front of people basically indefinitely. And that may keep his supporters coming out onto the streets time and again, depending on whatever the political issue of the day is, and whenever there are elections and things of that nature.
It is also possible, isn't it, looking at what's happened to other prominent figures in Russian prisons, that he will simply disappear there. I mean, the threat to his life must be considerable.
So sure. So when he was arrested, one of the things that he had done is he had telegraphed, to the international media the day that he was going to return to Moscow. And in fact, they diverted his plane from its original airport to a different airport in order to not have him be greeted by throngs of his supporters. So when he was arrested, then there was the video about Putin's alleged billion dollar plus mansion on the Black Sea. But one of the other things that Navalny said before he was arrested and his team announced is that he has no interest in committing suicide, and that if anything happens to him physically, that it will be the result of other people, that he wants to live, that he wants to continue the fight for as long as it takes.
Right. Yuval, we may be talking to you again by the sound of it. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. But do stay with us.